We'll call this January 15th, 2026 meeting of the AMATS Policy Committee to order. And I'll do a quick roll call. As I said, it's 1 o'clock. Ms. Baldwin-Day.
I am here, sir.
Mr. Downey.
Happy to be here.
Ms. Frank.
Here.
Is here in person, so it's good to lay eyes on her. Dr. Volland.
Likewise, happy to be here.
And Sean Holland here. So we do have a quorum with the full committee. Help us with the public involvement announcement, please.
Okay, thank you. Welcome to the AMATS Policy Committee meeting. Public members or public comments are welcome and encouraged with 3 minutes given to each speaker. After the committee discusses each item, members of the public will be invited to comment. Housekeeping items for virtual attendees, please keep your cameras off unless speaking. For those attending by phone, press *6 to mute or unmute yourself. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. And we do have, I think, 2 proposed additions to the agenda. I can make that motion if you help me, Aaron.
Yes, I believe there was a request to add the statewide LRTP to the agenda as an informational item, I believe, to update the committees on it. And then there was a request by staff to add in comments regarding the Alaska Administrative Code 120 through 150 that we provided to you virtually, and you have a hard copy in front of you as well.
I'll move to add those items.
Second.
And I have a second from Ms. Baldwin-Day. Are there any objections to adopting the amended agenda? Hearing none. The agenda is approved.
That was just to amend it. Now you got to approve the agenda as amended.
Okay, the amendment is approved. Anybody have any objections to adopting the agenda as amended? And I'm not hearing any, so the agenda as amended is approved. For agenda item number 4, we have before us the minutes from December 18th, 2025 for approval. Do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Downey, seconded by Ms. Baldwin-Day. Are there any objections to approving the minutes? Hearing none, December 18th minutes are approved. On to the first action item, the 2023 to 2026 funding program admin mod number 4. Do you have a presentation?
Yes, this will be me really quickly. Okay, everybody. So we have admin mod number 4 in front of you. This was talked about at the last policy committee. So almost every item on here we've already seen in some way, shape, or form. But there are a few new items. So I'll just go through everything really quickly. Spinard Road Rehabilitation, adding $1 million in design funding in FY26. Potter Drive and Mountaineer Drive, those 2 projects moving the FY25 funding to FY26. The motorized pavement replacement project, we are having to reduce the FY26 funding to pay for the other changes. So moving funding from one year to the next means you have to free up money in the year you're moving it to. So the motorized pavement replacement is being reduced. We were already going to do this as part of the amendment, so there's not much difference here between the admin mod and the amendment, just some number tweaks. Then there are a couple of new items. Spinard Road Rehabilitation, both phases, we're updating the match to show a 50-50 split between the Muni and DOT. Right now it shows Muni as paying 100% of the match, but the agreement between the state and the Muni is 50-50 split. So we got this noticed at the TAC, or we got this notice before the TAC meeting. We added to the memo. At the TAC, they actually recommended a couple more changes regarding the match split, and that's for 4th Avenue, Signals and Lighting, and 3rd Avenue. It needs to be a 50-50 match split as well. Then we have active transportation, a couple of updates for this table. Downtown Trail Connection, we reduced the 25 funding to show what was actually obligated in that year, then added $368,000 in design funding to FY26. I love misspelling design, so everybody enjoys that. And this is to finish the final design and get that project to construction. So we're very excited for that project. Fish Creek Trail Connection added $950,000 in design funding in FY26 for the final design efforts. And then the Campbell Creek Trail grade separated crossing of Lake Otis moved the FY25 funding to FY26. And lastly, another change that was added at the Technical Advisory Committee based on a request from the state is there's the pavement and bridge project in Table 8. So this is the money that the state puts towards pavement and bridge projects in the AMATS area. They're requesting that the FY26 funding that is currently shown as state STBG be switched to NHPP. It's just funding source moving. So it's a minor change and could be done as part of this admin mod. So those are the changes before you. As a reminder, there is no public comment period outside of the meetings for the TAC and the policy committee for admin mods. It's reviewed by the technical advisory committee with final approval by the policy committee, and then goes for this to the state for incorporation to the STIP. So the recommendation from staff and the TAC is to approve admin mod number 4 with the additional changes recommended by the TAC. Thank you.
Thanks, Aaron. Are there any questions or comments from the committee?
Not for me.
Seeing any, we can move on to the public. Any comments from the public? Not seeing any out there. What is the will of the committee?
Move to approve the 2023-26 TIP admin mod number 4 with the additional changes recommended by the TAC.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Baldwin Day, seconded by Dr. Poland. Any changes or discussion to that? I'm not seeing any. Whoops, I'm in the wrong thing. I didn't even mean to ask that. Are there any objections to approving the motion? Not hearing any, so we'll pass that motion.
Thank you.
To action item 5B, which is the CAC District 5 appointment.
Yes, thank you. I have a script written by Christine Schutte, so I'll read that as she is out of town, so I'm filling in for her on this one. So we currently have a position available on the Community Advisory Committee. So it's one of our 3 subcommittees that meets quarterly. 6 of the seats on this committee are filled by members of the public, each representing one of the Assembly district. District 5 seat was vacated by Mike Rayberg, who stepped down prior to the 4th quarter meeting. So we have had it open for a little bit. We have an application that was received from Dave Weber, who's who's committed to community engagement. So based on his application, his experience serving as community council and advocating for transportation issues, we recommend him for this District 5 seat for the CAC. The Technical Advisory Committee reviewed this and recommended his appointment to this seat as well. I'm checking to see if I see him online. He is online if you have any questions for him. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions or comments from the committee?
Would you like to say anything, Mr. Weber?
Yeah, I just say thank you for your consideration, and I really enjoyed working with my council, Northeast Community Council, as well as others, just on transportation issues, as well as advocating for improvements to specifically Muldoon Road. I enjoy biking and skiing around on our trails as well, and it's really exciting to see the first part of the agenda here with those improvements on there. So I just thank you for your consideration.
Thanks, Mr. Weber. Anybody else have any questions?
Just a comment.
Please.
Yeah, Mr. Weber, I just want to thank you for being willing to serve as a volunteer committee member. Folks who offer up their time and expertise to do this sort of work are my personal heroes. So thank you for being willing to serve. Really appreciate it.
Else?
Yeah, Dave, I hear Northeast maybe getting some fancy new bike racks. Do you want to talk a little bit about those efforts?
Yeah, that's super exciting, and we're thankful to the mayor and Beyond the Beige grant that kind of kicked that off. And I worked with another committee member on the Northeast Community Council to submit that grant for 3 nice artistic bike racks in Chance New Muldoon Park. And we're hoping we actually had to raise a little bit of money from the council side on that as well, and got in ADN article as well as a television interview, kind of advertising that, and really happy about that effort. It's only part of a small effort to improve both bike transportation as well as transportation just overall in our area, as well as establish a unified placemaking theme in the Northeast Community Council in general East Side area. So really happy about that effort, and really thankful for everyone involved.
Nice, thanks.
Yeah, and I'll just second what everybody else said, that yeah, it's an important committee, and thanks for your willingness to volunteer for that committee. Are there any comments from the public? Not seeing any. What is the will of the committee?
I would recommend that we confirm this appointment of Dave Weber to the Community Advisory Committee.
Second.
Moved by Dr. Boland, seconded by Ms. Baldwin Day. Are there any objections to passing that motion? I'm not hearing it.
Great.
Yeah, well, thanks again, Mr. Weber.
Yeah, we'll see you tonight.
On to action item 5C of the BPAC business seat appointment. Aaron, will you be presenting?
No, this will actually be Emily,
Oh,
Emily
okay.
Weiser with our BPAC coordinator. Emily, go ahead.
Hey, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Can-
Yep.
yeah.
Great, thanks. Yes, this is Emily Weiser. I'm the non-motorized coordinator and staff to the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee. As you all know very well, because I've been before you several times recently to fill our several vacant seats. I'm really pleased to report that we currently have only one vacant seat left, and this application is for that seat. So this is our business member seat, which has been vacant for a while, and Will Tagan has applied for it. He's an employee of the Trek Bicycle Store of Anchorage, and the owner has authorized him to represent the business on the BPAC. Will has a really strong record of being active in the community, especially with bike-related things and non-motorized transportation in the Chugiak area as well as in Anchorage. So staff are recommending his appointment, and the TAC recommended that as well. And I believe Will is in the room if you have any questions for him.
I will. Do you have anything you'd like to say, Will, or? You don't have to. I don't mean to put you on the spot. Good, okay. Are there any questions or comments from the committee?
Yeah, Mr. Tagan, I wanted to thank you for turning around that recommendation from the Trek store owners so quickly. It was great to see that come through. So appreciate you and the Trek store's timeliness in making that available to us.
Anybody else?
Would the member from Eagle River like to say anything?
Yeah, I think you do a great job, being fun to step it up. And,
Yes. I guess I'll just second that again. I know that Will's been to several meetings and we've talked to him several times here at AMATS, so he's familiar with the process and appreciate your willingness to participate in the committee. Are there any comments from the public? Not seeing any. What is the will of the committee?
I move to appoint Will Tagan to the Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee.
Second. Moved by Mr. Graham and seconded by Dr. Boland. Do I hear any, I meant Mr. Down.
I caught Katie Roden, that was also my name.
Do I hear any objections? No objections. So the motion passes. And we're through our action items already.
We have one more. It's the AAC comments, the
Okay, that's an
administrative
action
code.
item.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's an action item.
right.
So I'll present on this one, everybody. So as you see, I sent an email out to everybody that we got notice from the Department of Transportation last week that they're working on reviewing Alaska Administrative Code for ways to help with efficiencies, reduce redundancy, that kind of stuff. And right now they're working on the portion of administrative code that is the 120 through 150. Look, would you be able to pop open the page for the code there? So we have it on the screen if you guys have any questions about it. It deals with the statewide transportation plan, the planning process, the plan itself, and then public engagement with the plan. So it's just 3 small sections. It's only about 3 pages. And staff reviewed it and actually has some comments that we wanted to bring forward to discuss with the committee members and get your approval to send them or not. And then if you guys have any additions or changes that you would like to see. If you want to go back to the comments themselves, so the public can see that. So before you have the comments, we have a number of them. I was going to go through them pretty quickly for you all. So we have some overall comments. The first is, a note from staff that 120 through 150 is pretty succinct as is. There's not a whole lot there. Honestly, when you look through it and you think of the code that typically governs everything that we do at AMATS. And so what we're just trying to really emphasize is don't negatively impact the ability for public participation for the sake of efficiency. Like there's a good reason that public engagement is a strong component of all that we do for transportation planning. And then also we're recommending that for the public participation sections, it's written in a very strange way to make it seem like only members of the public who express interest in participating in the process will be notified of the process happening. So when public meetings are happening, so if there's a call for nominations or a call for comments, it's written in a strange way. So we're recommending that in addition to our specific comments below, they work on rewriting the language for the public engagement to emphasize that they're going to include a strong, broad outreach and not necessarily limited to only the people who are interested or who communicate that they want to be engaged with. This is a pretty important thing that the state does, setting the statewide long-range plan. That, is something we have to account for in what we do. So it's really, really essential to get good public engagement in there. Now we have specific comments in each section, but we tried to be as detailed as we could for everybody to make it easier to see what we were talking about. So section 125, this is the section that deals with the, sorry, just a second. This is for the statewide transportation planning objectives itself. On the first thing, the planning objectives, there's a concern by staff that there is some conflicts that are inherently present here. What do you do about the mobility of cars that can conflict with safety for active transportation users or other users in the system? How does DOT handle that? How do they deal with that as part of their process? So one of the things we recommend here is they establish a hierarchy to help with these conflicts or provide an explanation on how they address these conflicts. So people know, oh, okay, so if there is something that you're doing for the sake of mobility, how are you helping to address the safety component as well? Next is in the same section for item number 5. We're recommending that adding to number 5, which is talking about preservation of the existing transportation system, we say preservation and rehabilitation of the existing transportation system. That's been a huge component of everything that we've been doing over the years. So we think it's pretty important to call out here as part of the planning objectives. If you have any questions, please stop me at any time. I'm just going through as best I can. Section 130. We noted here that in this section, which is dealing with the statewide transportation plan itself, it talks about here that the department will consider means and cost of improving the existing modes and facilities and whether each project is expected to qualify for state and federal financing and the cost and benefit of new transportation and mode facilities. The problem is we don't see that really fleshed out in the LRTP. The state doesn't have a list of projects. There's no cost estimates for projects. There's no funding availability. There's no real fiscal constraint analysis done as part of the LRTP. It is not required. I'm not trying to say it is. It's just it would help a lot if the state developed their long-range plan with a fiscal constraint component to it. Look 20 to 30 years out. Put projects in there. We as AMATS pull from the various plans that exist, including the statewide LRTP. So it would help us significantly when developing our MTP, what projects to be looking at to incorporate in there, instead of just getting kind of a random list of these are the ones we think you should add in. It's really part of the whole overall process that we think is missing. It would also help with the 10-year plan that the state is working on and the STIP that the state is working on. And of course, helping the public understand kind of what's coming for transportation projects in the future. And it make it a lot easier for everybody to not solely rely on AMATS to provide all that information all the time. So it's just a component we think would be good. And then lastly, for this section, we recommend adding a requirement to notify, consult with cooperating agencies such as MPOs, local governments, and tribal governments. And so this could include interagency meetings and review prior to starting the new plan on the draft plan. We always hear from people that we hear from some people that MPOs aren't special. MPOs are no different from the public, but we are a little bit different than the public. We have processes in place that we have to go through on a pretty regular basis. We as staff have to come to the committees, and we may need a little more time to be able to get things together to provide comments or to provide recommendations on these plans. So it'd be really nice if something was added in about how they will notify or work with us and other groups prior to starting a new plan. So we can get those comments ready, even if we don't have them ready before the public comment period starts. Just getting our process started early would be beneficial. Next section, 135. This one we added because we noticed that there were some conflicts that have been occurring between like the public meeting that they had on Wednesday and also even internally with AMATS staff. There was a first push to, we don't need notices in newspapers anymore. But thankfully what was discussed at the public meeting is notices in newspapers are really essential for locations maybe outside of the urban area. when you're in the more rural parts that don't have as easy access to the electronic connectivity that we do here in Anchorage or Fairbanks or Matsu. And so we're recommending don't remove the portion about notices and newspapers, even though it is seemingly outdated compared to what other things are done. And then we're recommending adding additional means of electronic notice, that notices will be emailed out rather than posted on the website. DOT already does this. It would just be really nice if this were updated to note that this is what they're doing. And then adding a distribution notice to the MPOs, local governments, and tribal governments. As we say here, we can't require these entities to do so, but having DOT specifically call out that they will send distribution to these groups, and then those groups can provide that information out to the public, I think is an essential component of the public engagement process. Recommend adding a requirement for timeliness of notice for public evening events and meetings. I'll be honest, we got the notice about the public meeting regarding this administrative code change on Friday at 8:16 a.m. The meeting was Wednesday from 10 to 11 a.m. That's not really a lot of time for people to get their comments ready. And, what we do as AMATS is we try and send out a minimum of 14 days before any event. That gives community councils the opportunity to get their stuff together and who decides who they want to send to it. It gets other members of the public, other agencies. This has been an area that I think has been a challenge for the DOT over the years, is sending out notice in a timely fashion of a public meeting happening. And so we're also recommending a secondary notice 2 days before the event to kind of remind people. That's something that we as AMATS want to adopt as well. And just so you know, our public participation plan does call 14 days before an event to send notice out to everybody of the event itself. So some consistency there. And then recommended adding a requirement for public notice reminders at least 7 days prior to that public comment period ending. A lot of people miss kind of the initial public comment notice that a period is happening. And so it'd be good to just send them a reminder that a public comment period is ending and be like, get your comments in now. This is also something we're looking at adopting for AMATS to send out those reminder notices to everybody. Next, section 140. This section deals with the methods for receiving public input. We're really recommending that the DOT add in a section here for requiring publication of a point-by-point response to public comments. Similar to what we do on our plans, we have a comment response summary that says who sent the comment, what the comment was, and then the response. There's no requirement for them to post it to their website, but it would be really helpful to have that. So then the public can be like, oh, this is how they're responding to my comments. It's something that we do and we recommend it. Section 145, getting close to the end, I promise. Public review draft of the plan itself. One big thing here is it calls out that only one public meeting is required for the draft plan when it is released. I'll be honest, one public meeting is a real struggle for a document like the LRTP for the entire state. We recommend changing it to at least 3 public meetings at a minimum and have them geographically dispersed throughout the state with a notice saying it'll be sent out minimum of 14 days before the meeting itself. That would really help with public engagement, we feel. It's something we do with our MTP. We make sure that we have comments or like public meetings in Anchorage and Eagle River, so we can give everybody the opportunity to participate where possible. Next, we recommend, there's a sentence in here that's strange, and it's about when the public comment period starts, that it'll commence 3 days after notice of the availability of the draft statewide transportation plan is released for public comment. I'll let you know, it's a little confusing because it makes it seem like you're going to send a notice to the public 3 days before the main notice goes out about the draft plan being available for public comments. In our view, it's a little confusing because then public members are like, which is the comment period? The first notice you sent us or the second notice you sent us? So there may be an opportunity to clean that up. And we were originally recommending deleting it, but we actually recommend replacing it with providing MPOs at least 7 days advance notice of an upcoming public comment period. As I stated earlier, we have committee reviews on submitting comments, so it would give us a little bit more of a heads up. Next, requiring the comment response summary with the final plan to the department's website. This is, again, something we do as AMATS. It's something strongly recommended by FHWA. You know, we are required as the MPO to post our public comment responses after a plan has been done, so the public can see how we responded and addressed their comments. So we recommend the state do it for the LRTP as well. And then recommend in section 150, which is dealing with adoption of the statewide transportation plan, to direct a DOT to post that the plan has been adopted to the website and not just send notice to interested parties. As we say, as written, it may seem like only those who participated or asked about it will be informed of the plan being adopted. So these are all the comment recommendation or all the comments that we as staff are recommending that the policy committee approve to send. We don't think any of these are onerous. We'll add a lot of time and effort. We think a lot of it is just cleaning it up to move it into the modern age. Okay, that's all I had. Thank you.
Thanks. And for clarity, the action recommended is to forward these comments on behalf of AMATS under your signature.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we would change the document to where we can say if the policy committee approves to have it sent as the policy committee itself, we would change that in the text to say that the AMATS has reviewed the AC and has the following, because right now on the first page it says AMATS staff has reviewed it. So we just give it to the staff. So you can send it either as from AMATS staff and say, yeah, staff, go ahead and send it out, or you can send it out as the policy committee yourself saying, you know, support these comments. Traditionally what we do.
Are there any questions or comments from the committee?
So these comments were being solicited as part of the governor's directive to reduce regulations by 25%, or is it a different effort?
No, that's the effort. And I would phrase it as more finding efficiencies, not necessarily reducing regulations, because it may be that they don't actually reduce regulations, but they find ways to streamline things. A good example of this is, as noted by Andy Mills, is that there may be some things that are required in federal regulation that are duplicated in the state code. So do we need them in both places? So I don't want people to think like, oh yeah, they're slashing all these really important things. They're looking at kind of everything holistically.
Any other questions for Aaron from the committee?
I do. I'm also curious, so this is not, the statewide transportation document is only, or plan is only one of the many documents that the state submits for public comments. Do you have a sense of, a lot of your comments here are procedural. Do you have a sense of what other documents they would apply to, or do other documents have different procedural requirements?
Yeah, the STIP, for example, is the other primary one the state does that everybody's familiar with, and it has its own section. That's not part of the discussion because that's not what they're looking at yet. It sounds like they're taking it piece by piece. And so they're looking at 120 through 150. I think there will be a review of the next section for the STIP and other documents. So, you know, I don't know how this will apply to everything overall, because I actually didn't look to see if there's a generic section of code that covers everything outside of the LRTP in this STIP.
Thanks. Any other questions for Aaron?
Yeah, I do. So I pulled the Administrative Order 360, and it's pretty clear that one of the directives to each agency is to reduce the number of regulatory requirements by 15% by the 31st of this year. Recognizing that this is not the only section of regulatory requirement under which the DOT operates, is there a reason that this particular section was chosen for evaluation first?
I can't answer that. I don't know.
And I don't know who's online, but I don't know that we're going to have anybody that can answer that question.
I wonder, sorry, hold on. I think Sarah Lucy is on.
Yeah, hi. I helped lead the presentation for the AO 360 regulations to do with the long range plan. Was that yesterday? And it is part of a grouping of regulations DOT is looking at. I'm not sure how the selection happened, but I'll insert a picture of the slide if Teams lets me do that. One of the slides that we used yesterday that shows percentage of regulations for DOT, which was just one way that we started the analysis of what regulations to discuss and look at, but 05 is the statewide transportation plan and the STIP. And like somebody mentioned, we started with the long range plan, and then we'll open the STIP up for public comment and start hosting those public meetings later on this spring, I believe.
Okay, so will we be undertaking a similar process for other administrative code review that pertains to DOT at some point in the future?
Yes, although I can't answer, I'd have to check with Andy Mills. I can't answer to whether we're looking at all regulations or if they've pared them down a little bit. I just posted a picture of the list that he had provided to that meeting yesterday of the ones that are being actively looked at over the course of the next 2 years.
Okay, and who's the agency regulatory liaison for DOT at this point?
Andy Mills.
Andy Mills is, okay.
Mhm.
And when does this public comment period end?
The one for 120 to 150 is the end of the month, January 30th. Almost the end of the month.
Do you have any idea at what point we might know what the next grouping of regulations is that we might be asked to consider?
No, I do not have a schedule. Yeah, that'll be Andy as well.
Okay. All right, thank you. That's helpful.
No problem.
Anybody else? Are there any comments from the public? Not hearing any.
Anyone online?
Oh, there is.
Do
Okay.
Alexa.
Alexa, go ahead.
Thank you. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. All right, my name is Alexa Dobson. I'm the Executive Director of Bike Anchorage. I was not planning on commenting on this because I was not aware that it was going to be part of the agenda. And I think that's largely for the same reason that Mr. Biancanelen mentioned earlier, which was that the first notice that we saw about this initiative was sent on a Friday for a meeting that was to take place the following Wednesday. And I'll also note that, you know, with that first notification that this opportunity was opened, it was sent on the 9th and comments are due on the 30th. That is a very narrow window of notification and really does not give the public the time that we would need to be able to dig into these things and see what opportunities there are to make updates or streamline and things like that. I do want to thank AMATS for going ahead and having the hustle to look through this and come up with some really great ideas. I think that the ones that were presented here today look really great. One element that I do want to highlight is in section 125, where they're discussing the possibility that there are going to be competing objectives and that there should be some sort of a hierarchy and an understanding of when we're going to prioritize safety over mobility and things of that nature. I do want to put a finer point on that issue of safety, because very often we see that safety becomes a code word for driver convenience. And I think it's really important that if we are encoding this hierarchy, we need to be sure that we're not using safety as a fig leaf to privilege drivers and punish those outside of a car. A couple examples of that. I was just at the Safer Seward Highway public hearing last night, and the theory of safety that underpins the entirety of the Safer Seward Highway project is that drivers are sometimes forced to drive behind another car when they are on the highway. That makes them feel angry, and that leads them to not be able to control their emotions and engage in aggressive and illegal and dangerous driving behaviors. So therefore, the highway must be widened so that no driver will ever have to drive behind another car. And if that doesn't sound like it makes sense, it's because it doesn't. It sounds more like privileging and rewarding the most aggressive and dangerous drivers on the road instead of prioritizing safety in the sense of actually making people drive the appropriate speed.
Yeah, time's up. Thank you, Alexa.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any other comments from the public? All right, I'm not seeing any. What's the will of the committee?
I would move to forward staff's comments to DOT.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Graham, Mr. Downey, and seconded by Ms. Baldwin Day. Do I hear any objections to forward the comments on behalf of the policy, or not on behalf of the policy committee, but comments from staff to the DOT? Not hearing any. That's approved. That's the last action.
That is the last action item. Thank you, sir.
On to 6A, which is the AWWU Water Master Plan Update.
Yes, AWWU is here to present on this, so we'll have a virtual and in-person component. If you want to go ahead.
With your permission, I will share my screen.
Go ahead. Thank you.
Please.
Thank you. Oops. Let me change that. Sorry, apologies. I apologize. I don't know why it is doing this. But we can.
I think it looks okay. It looks fine to us.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you. Todd, you are there in the room.
Yes, I'm Todd Carroll. I'm with Anchorage Water Wastewater Utility. I'm the capital program manager in the engineering division. And we're here to just give a broad general overview of where we're at with the water master plan. And we already did present this to the technical advisory committee. So let's talk about the plan purpose, and then we'll go through the existing and future conditions we look at when we're looking at planning. Julie, if you want to go to the next slide. So why we do the water master plans, we typically do them every 7 to 10 years. And we're trying to look forward into the future a bit to see what's coming, how the community is doing, how we're performing with our infrastructure, what trends are coming up, and identify and prioritize projects in the capital planning. Like I was just hearing about how you want to also coordinate with other entities on those type of projects. So that's what we're out doing the outreach for and wrapping up right now. And we're always looking at the level of service and how that might change in the future. So existing conditions that we're under right now with the infrastructure, we have about 55,000 water customers, 2 water treatment plants, one in Clute, one at Ship Creek, 12-ish wells, less than that operate continuously. 850 miles pipe, a lot of hydrants and many reservoirs. We average about 23 million gallons of water delivery per day. And in the summer, that can go up to 50 million gallons a day, but it's actually moderated from 70 million gallons peak in the past decade. It's gone down a bit. Go ahead, Julie. So when we're looking at drivers, like I was talking about, of trying to see what's out in the 20-year planning horizon, we're looking at the population trends, changes in water use trends. I think that as some of that attributes to the moderation of the peak demand with usage trends with residential areas, system risks, and technical needs within the utility, and also regulatory requirements, lead, copper rule, PFAS, things like that, that might come up. And with that, when we're looking at projects, a lot of our projects are trending towards rehabilitation and replacement as the infrastructure ages, as it is everywhere. We have several project examples that you can see there, but basically, we did a lot of ductile iron, cast iron, wood stave pipe through the decades, through the eras. We're trending more toward what we call vertical plant, or the facilities, the rehab of those now. That's taking over a lot of the funding as of late on R&Rs. Go ahead, Julie. And so as we were talking about with meeting demand in the summer is typically our higher demand or other unusual events, but On capacity improvements, we're looking at a few things with developments in Girdwood and Eagle River, mitigating the potential of, risks to our transmission mains in the system and supporting future development opportunities. So we're looking at other plans. That's why we're coordinating with a lot of agencies to make sure we're aware of what's going on around and are ready for what comes. Also, system optimization. A lot of that is more of the in-house end of water quality, water age, how we distribute water through the system, how we can more efficiently and effectively and safely deliver the water to our customers. So there's several projects, pressure zone consolidations and interties that would help out and improve fire flows and things like that. Go ahead, Julie. As far as the near-term projects, this is just a sampling of our projects that's more related to the right-of-way transportation planning coordination. We've already started conversations with Public Works, long-range planning, a little bit with AMATS on in the background after our last meeting, talking about projects that might be coming up, on the near term and also in the future, and how to make sure that we're not just talking right before construction, but during the planning phase, so that 5 years later, we're not going back and digging up a road that just had improvements or something like that. As far as the schedule goes, like I was saying, we've been holding a lot of coordination meetings, get the plan, the word out there. We had an online open house. We received a lot of great comments from the community. It was really good to see the interaction with everyone. We've met with specifically those that were listed there. Those are the ones that asked us to meet and present, but we reached out to a much wider group as well. So the next steps, basically, we're in the final phases of the plan and getting ready to publish it. So, take any questions?
Thanks, Todd. Any questions from the committee for Todd?
Todd, I know in the past, we've talked about number of taxpayers or ratepayers per foot of pipe is with all of our infrastructure, whether it's pipe or roads, is a challenge that we're facing as a community. How have you thought about integrating that into the plans?
So ratepayers,
Yeah,
the cost cause or cost payer type philosophy of the utility, of course, and it's a struggle when you're looking at large infrastructure improvements outside of that structure and with the regulated utility. I don't know if specifically that's what you're speaking to, but we're also looking at other opportunities with grant funding, try and collaborate on getting some other infrastructure needs addressed. But if we are ratepayer based for sure, and we need to always be looking out for the customer and the improvements that are directed towards the customer.
Yeah, thanks.
Sorry if you had it in one of your slides, but ballpark, what is your capital program worth a year?
Great question. 20 to 30 million on each side of the house, probably. It can vary. There are some really big projects on the books that are difficult to the point we were talking about that can come up that really can stress 1 or 3 years of that. Sure. Yeah.
Any other questions for Mr. Carroll? Good. Any comments from the public? Seeing any? Thanks for your presentation.
Thank you.
Agenda item 6B is on-highway Hiland interchange update. It's like Sam.
Yeah, perfect. Aaron, are you gonna pull it up? Otherwise, Morgan.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and pull it up.
Good afternoon. I'm Sam Tyler. I'm with Dow Engineers. Project engineer on the project. Galen Jones is the DOT project manager, and he's ill today. So I get the opportunity to run this presentation by you guys. So you can save all the hard questions for him. I'll answer all the design ones. If I get it too much into the design, you can just hit me. Yeah, next slide, please. So the project location is north of Anchorage. As we approach Eagle River, the Anchorage Regional Landfill is there on the west side of the project. And there's a couple other key locations. It's close to Eagle River High School, which is just to the east of our interchange itself. We have the way station south of the interchange, and then it's really at first access into Eagle River as you're heading north from Anchorage. Go ahead and jump to the next slide. So our key purpose on this project was to improve operations, increase capacity, and then also improve pedestrian and non-motorized users facilities throughout the interchange. There is some major queuing issues along the Eagle River Loop Road as you approach the highway and head south into Anchorage. And so we'll be fixing that, also enhancing the highway merge where the entrance ramp ties into the highway, and then maintaining the bridge. There's some maintenance that needs to be done on the bridge so that it can be extended future life.
Can you tell us how you define major queuing?
Yeah, so here we go. So this queuing actually is a rolling queue. Traffic gets into that inside lane, and it actually backs up in the AM peak hour about 1.9 miles some days back to Big Briggs Bridge. So that's where that's probably the best definition for a major queue.
So this is only during the AM peak?
This is for the AM peak. Yep.
So what's the time duration for that queue?
Yeah, I can get back to you with like a specific on the time to make that distance in the AM. Yeah.
Or like how long the queue exists for and how much delay?
Oh, for the yeah. So AM peak is typically an hour. So we're looking about from, I think the time is 8 to 9 AM.
And it's there's
7 to 8
for the whole AM peak.
Yeah. So what happens is vehicles trying to get onto the highway, get backed up, they stack into that lane, and then northbound exit traffic. There will be a courtesy stop, and these vehicles can go through, and that adds and impacts that queue even further into the distance. Yeah. So looking at our alternatives that we've done on the project so far, there's a couple things that we had for constraints on our design. One of them was maintaining the existing bridge, so keeping it. The second was to enhance or better our non-motorized transit facilities. And then the last was to fix that traffic operations issues. A couple things that we'll be doing is balancing the volumes on Eagle River Loop Road, so the lane utilization, increasing that capacity for the westbound movement to the southbound, and then also increasing the southbound entrance ramp capacity. I'll show you our alternative in another slide where we get that capacity from our analysis there. There's also, with this solid waste services, we have some small impacts there, but we're also going to be working with them to be able to make sure that they have the facilities and the connections that they need. So this is our preferred alternative, the divergeabout. It is a diverging diamond with roundabouts at each side instead of a signalized intersection. What this does is it helps in several different ways. It avoids costly utilities. On the west side, there's a 20-inch gas main. That is a costly utility that some of the other alternatives had small impacts to. It does not require any right-of-way from J-Bear, and it does allow us to keep the existing bridge in place. There's a couple small things to consider with it. There is the small right-of-way that happens at the Anchorage Regional Landfill. This is the first diverging diamond with the roundabouts, so the divergeabout in Alaska, and then also has some higher construction impacts to the traveling public than some of the other alternatives, just because of the reconstruction of both of those intersections on the side of the bridge. So the existing transit routes and non-motorized facilities, the existing facilities cross two-way traffic for majority of the crossings. There's also been a lot of coordination that we've done with Bike Anchorage, the municipality transit, and then also the DOT traffic and safety group. If we jump to the next slide, it shows at 75% design, this is what we were looking at for non-motorized access around the roundabout. So it was very similar to what the existing is, with the pathway being on the north side of the bridge. Existing right now has 7 lane crossings. And with that, there's several of those that are two-way traffic. As we move to the alternative that we showed here, it did increase the number of crossings, but it was single lane roadways that pedestrians were going to need to cross. As we worked through the PIH and had comments, we received a lot of feedback that we wanted to reduce those crossings and make it more of a direct crossing from that park and ride in the northeast quadrant to the trail that comes into Anchorage. So if you move to the next slide, we've now been working on moving the pedestrian facilities to the center of the bridge. And what this does is it reduces the number of pedestrian crossings. There's still single lane crossings that the pedestrians would make to get to the trail on the southbound Glen Highway. The other thing is it does reduce the length of the pathway. Before this change, we were looking at about 1,330 feet, and it's now down to 930 feet for a pedestrian to go from that park and ride northeast quadrant down to the southwest quadrant. Yeah, next slide, please. We have been coordinating quite a bit with Bike to Anchorage, the municipality, or MOA Transit. One of the things that we've discussed with the MOA Transit is that park and ride and getting access to their riders. We're making that so that any direction that they come into the interchange, that they can be able to get their riders and not have to do a circuitous route. And so here in this figure, you can see we have an exit for buses only that will come off that entrance ramp, and then they'll be able to circle over to VFW and pick up their riders. We are working through the actual design of this, and we'll be coordinating further with MOA Transit.
Could you go,
Yeah.
go back, please?
So this is very schematic right now,
Right.
the bus turnaround. It's
Yeah,
really kind of shown.
I'm just trying to follow the flow. Okay.
Yeah, so right now the transit route comes northbound on the Glen Highway. They exit, they go around the roundabout, and they pick up riders, and then they get on the Glen Highway, come up, and then they come back down. VFW is the route for the transit currently.
Okay.
And so as we've talked with them, the alternative that they would like to see is that they can circulate around between the entrance ramp, that northbound entrance ramp, and VFW, so that they can pick up riders. And so we're working through park and ride layouts, and also the park and ride layouts and where that's pick up and drop off would be for transit users, integrating that with the park and ride. Another key feature we've been working with is the Anchorage Regional Landfill and the Trucking Association, Alaska Trucking, about how trucks will move through this interchange. There's high volumes of traffic or trucks that will be going into the landfill, specifically from Anchorage and taking waste to the solid waste services, or the landfill there, excuse me. And then also the oversized trucks and vehicles that need to go through the interchange. The blue shows the path that probably the most complicated path for a truck to go through. And we're just showing that we've looked at all of the different movements, coordinated with the Alaska Trucking Association, and ran these by them. For the overheight vehicles that require a specific permit to go through the interchange because they're overheight, you can't go underneath the bridge or on the Glen Highway. We have these orange lines that are showing those routes. For those, there's specific permits that are needed, and some signing and some signposts, those type of fixtures may need to be removed for them to make that movement and then put back in place, which is kind of standard for other interchanges that we've seen, like the Glen Muldoon one. We've also added truck aprons, as you see around other roundabouts around Anchorage, for these truck movements to help then be able to navigate through the roundabouts.
So does the orange line go over the top of something?
Yeah, so the only thing that it will go over is curbed and medians. So there'll be a paved median. So they would have to go over a small curb, a paved surface, and then or a concrete median, and then continue through. So those truck routes are developed, but they're not for everybody to use, if that makes sense. So it's only for specific overheight vehicles to make that movement.
And they have to go over a curb?
Yeah, they will go over a 6-inch curb, which is typical in other interchanges.
You know how high your bridge is, over the highway?
16.4, I think is what it is. You have a question there? You to get it through?
I mean, I'm just trying to envision that traffic pattern with. Yeah.
So when they do this movement, there will be flaggers out there, so they'll stop the other movements. And so it will be only the truck that's able to go through there. And usually it's in the middle of the night or strange times because those large vehicles, this is only very large vehicles going through with a specific permit.
And pretty rare too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not, you're not gonna send them through there between 8 and 10 in the morning.
No, yes, they're not going through at our peak times at all. It'll be like the middle of the night and you've probably never seen it happen because that's when they.
That's fascinating. Okay.
So it's not like a normal semi can still go under the bridge.
Yeah, normal semi truck, all normal truck traffic would be able to go under the bridge. It's just those oversized, overweight permits that need to go that way.
Does this change the height of the existing bridge at all, or is the bridge going to
Existing bridge is staying as it is.
staying as it's okay?
Our design though, we do accommodate a future raised bridge. So we've looked at that so we don't have to reconstruct major portions of the interchange in the future. It can be, there's just small reconstruction. The roundabouts are okay to stay. It's just a small vertical change in the future. We've been coordinating that with DOT Bridge. So we've been coordinating quite a bit with Anchorage Regional Landfill. Their gate is going to shift into their property, but it is a benefit for them. A couple things to note. They wanted to have a truck turnaround in front of their gate so that as plowing operations go, the plow trucks can make a U-turn in front of their gate and plow it so that it's not just that section covered in snow. So that's what you can see there next to the right of those blue lines is a quick U-turn for, that's only for snow plow trucks to make. And then there's a small paved section there when queues back up. Anchorage Regional Landfill can go out, stop traffic, and have their trucks come into the eastbound, the eastbound, but they'd be able to cross over and get their trucks into the regional landfill and avoid traffic that's coming in and blocking their gates, if that makes sense. So that's something that they've requested is a crossover for during those heavy traffic times for their group. And then there's a small site adjustment that needs to happen with that orange alignment. The line to the right of that would be in DOT right away. Slide. So we have so far project started in 2023 and we've had a lot of public involvement opportunities so far. We had an open house about a year ago now. That was our first open house. And then we've had additional stakeholder input through this last year, working with Anchorage Regional Landfill, also the Bike Anchorage and MOA Transit, and then Alaska Trucking Association. We are progressing our design. As you saw, we are at 75 with that one pedestrian alternative. Now we're moving towards our 95% design with the pedestrians down the center of the bridge. And we plan to have construction started in 2027, with it being completed in the fall of 2028. Then, yeah, Galen Jones again as a project manager and Kelly as our Dow project manager. Questions?
Questions for Sam?
What's your dollar figure for construction?
Yeah, I may have to have Galen give me the exact numbers, but I think we're about 20 million for projection.
You
give or
look at
take.
involvement, there's a lot of minutes of roundabouts and then kind of a non-standard roundabout on that'd be on the west side. What's the public involvement that you've heard?
Yeah, so
Think of that, or?
we have some pretty good animations that show the routing. If people can come and say, hey, I live here, or this is my route that I go, how do I go through this? And we have some video animations on the website that show that route for people, and they've been very supportive of it. Makes sense to them as they're able to see those animations. They like specifically that movement coming westbound, getting onto the highway, that it's a free flowing movement. They don't have any stops other than a potential yield at one roundabout. And that's the majority of that movement, so it operates really well. But overall, good support for the project and our public involvement endeavors.
Good to hear. So, no more questions from the committee. Any comments? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Well, maybe from the public, I don't know if the member from Eagle River has any excitements or thoughts about.
Yeah. Have you got any feedback, Mr. Gerker, or on the project? No? Okay. Good. Yeah, any comments from the public?
I'm Jeffrey, Parking Director. I just have a quick question. While this is under construction, I'm assuming that intersection will be closed down. What's the plan for the alternate route for the year of construction? Will we go into the original Eagle River exit and entrance there and come across that bridge?
That's a good question. We are actually, as we're moving into our 95%, we'll be working on our traffic control plans, and that will identify what that phasing looks like. It is a pretty major movement, so we'll be attempting to try to keep that open as much as possible. We'll be looking at different times when that can be closed, but most likely in the morning, that movement's going to need to be open.
Is there that exit coming off the highway going into the north proper there? That's a really strange merge if you're trying to turn back on the Eagle River.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious of what the plan is for that.
So we'll be getting into those details specifically. Thank you. This next design stage. Thanks.
Probably going to accommodate traffic on Hiland, right? Yeah.
I don't think, no, we're not planning to like route everybody up to Artillery or anything else like that. Yeah. We'll be keeping traffic here.
There's a question from Alexa.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead, Alexa.
Hi, it's actually not a question. Should I just do a 3-minute comment?
Sure.
Okay, thanks. Alexa Dobson, Executive Director of Bike Anchorage. It's good to hear where the project is at right now. But I do think that Bike Anchorage's support for this project is being overstated. To be clear, our involvement with this project has included my attendance at a initial workshop in, I think, 2024. We had a one-on-one call with Galen and one of the other project team members at about 1 year ago, I think in January 2025. And then this summer, the project team asked Bike Anchorage to write a letter of support for the project, and our board of directors voted to decline to write that endorsement. I happen to be poking around in Planning and Zoning Commission meeting minutes because that's the kind of person that I am. Recently, I was looking for something else, but I found that when the Glen Highland project had gone before the Planning and Zoning Commission, our involvement had been construed as much more supportive than we have actually put forward, saying that we were happy with it, that we were okay with it, that everything looked great from our perspective. And one of the commissioners, I guess, in the minutes actually said, oh, I'm surprised that they were so cool with this. And so I do want to be clear. We have not submitted or expressed support or endorsement of this project. We are a very small team, so we can't necessarily, engage in detail with all projects. But I do want to be clear that we were consulted, we've had some conversations, but we really, our participation in this should not rise to the level of support or endorsement. So I just hope that the project team will be aware of that going forward. And yeah, I just want to make sure that the policy committee is aware of that as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Alexa. Any other comments from the public? Not seeing any, Sam.
Thanks.
Thank you. I penciled in Sarah next. Is that appropriate?
Yeah, we can get everybody who's outside AMATS done, and then the rest is me if everybody has to go, so.
Okay. So the LRTP update from Sarah Lucy. I know you're there. You already spoke up.
Yes. Throwing the right PowerPoint on the screen here for you. And in advance, dropping the link to the LRTP website into the chat. So, I think I introduced myself earlier, or maybe I didn't, but I hopped on for comment there to help. But my name is Sarah Lucy. I'm the statewide planning chief for DOT, and currently leading the effort for our LRTP 2055 for the department with a group from all around the department. So just to get you caught up to speed on where we're at, I do finally feel like we're at a good point in the plan where I can come talk to you about things that we've been working on. And so bear with me for a few minutes. I have a few slides, and feel free to throw up questions, and I will hopefully screen the chat here if there's anything in there as well. So our LRTP, as a reminder, is our policy plan for the department. It helps set the stage for aligning resources for Alaska's transportation future and helping us make some of those tough decisions on what to preserve or build and how to connect communities. And it shapes the direction and policy for our modal specific plan. So our AMHS long range plan that was just published, our statewide aviation system plan, and many others that we have here in the department. And because Alaska is so vast, we do have area or regional specific plans, so we can sort of group those particular in-depth gaps or questions or needs based on a particular region. So an example of that is the Southeast Transportation Plan that's going on right now. And we just published the Interior Alaska Transportation Plan August of last year. So those do a deep dive into particular regions of the state. They come up with project lists and they talk about the needs of those areas specifically. And then those plans will then feed back into the LRTP when we go to talk about policy for transportation in Alaska. So we have started our public engagement. We're really looking to collect user stories in the beginning of the plan. Commissioner wanted to make sure that the LRTP was Alaskan specific. He wanted to hear stories from Alaskans on what they want to see out of the transportation system. So what we've heard so far, we have 299 user stories / comments, and looking for that 300th today. So if you're scrolling the website right now while I'm talking about the plan, feel free to fill out your user story. You could be number 300 today. As we're skimming through these user stories and looking at what the needs of Alaskans are, these are some themes that have popped to the top. So safety with 113 mentions. I'm sure you're not surprised there, nor with the number of mentions for the bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure. And some of these user stories, I mean, they can be broad or specific, but like as a bicyclist in Fairbanks, I want to see more separated bicycle lanes and paths so that I feel safer biking in this community. We've got a lot of those. We've got a lot of commuter traffic, or I'm a parent, or I just want to get safely to my job or to the store, those sorts of things. Maintenance and condition of infrastructure. Again, I'm not sure that you'll be surprised at that one, but it does seem to be a key theme that is reoccurring in our user stories, as well as getting to and from major industries, goods and services from rural and remote places in our state. So all of these things have been reported to us through this user story platform. So what is a user story? We really wanted to direct comments in a particular form so that we could use them as part of the plan. So that's and then you would insert your role, your persona as a commuter, as a bicyclist, as a mother, as a daughter. I want. And so out of this, we can derive specific needs from our comments. And then so that is the insert of the benefit. We really did want to drive purpose and need from these statements so then we could collectively use them for our vision, goals, and objectives conversation as we start to develop those. So I've got the QR code here. I dropped the link to the website in, but we would love your user story as part of this effort. We have the draft of the development of the vision, goals, and objectives. We're going to start that work at the beginning of February. So we are using those user stories for that effort. Also on the website, you'll find our asset map available for data that we do have on hand. We put together an asset map so you can go select a particular borough, region, city, community to look at what kind of assets are in that community and the condition of them if we have that data. This could help start a conversation later on down the way as we talk about needs and gaps in our system. It can also hopefully start up a conversation within a group or myself about what we need to look at going forward as a policy for the transportation system, or it could be the idea blossoming for your new user story. So that's available on our website under resources if you want to take a look at that. And our timeline, our effort kicked off in late August of 2025, and we are cruising right along, but we're about to finish up our desktop exercise for that existing conditions report. And then we're going to move into identifying gaps and challenges at the beginning of February, using those user stories to develop the vision, goals, and objectives. Later then conducting our scenario planning and policy analysis that will lead to drafting strategies and actions. Phase 7 says public and stakeholder review. I just want to reiterate, we have public and stakeholder input through the whole thing. That is for the draft plan specifically. Our regs do have that we need 45 days of public review and comment of the draft plan, but we hope that we get a lot more input before that date. So our having this draft existing conditions memo coming to the public soon is our starting point for let's have a conversation about what we found via the desktop exercise and what did we miss. So we're calling that our transportation assessment. We are almost done with that and should have the draft posted for review in early February if all things go well. Table of contents includes transportation planning framework, our community frameworks, cultural and geographic regions, climate and environment, emerging technology, all the things that you would find in what we call the state of the state. And it does deep dive a little bit into our modes and really tries to give a holistic approach for what kind of assets we're talking about, the riders that use them, the maintenance that goes into maintaining that infrastructure. And then each section ends with key trends, risks, and challenges. And that's really the part that I'm hoping that we get to engage with folks on as we move forward through what we're calling focus groups. So focus groups are, we originally were going to make these stakeholder meetings where we're going to have a list of stakeholders that would attend each focus group and that we'd really get to do some deep dive conversations. We decided just recently we could not slim down the list enough. The stakeholders, we wanted to invite everybody to everything, and then that's what we realized it was. So we turned it into a public meeting format. So we're going to be holding these virtually, 8 different meetings, and with a very specific agenda for each of these topics or modes. And so as part of this, we were going to ask folks to review the transportation assessment. So we all had a foundational starting point for where to start that conversation, and then have engagement based on each of these modes or topics, with sort of a scope around them too, because we want to make sure that we're having those conversations and making sure that we're including the conversations in the format of the LRTP so we can include everything in, if that makes sense. So focus group meetings, we're really hoping for February. It's been fast and furious trying to get the transportation assessment done. As soon as we think we're done, then we send it through another round of reviews and find other things. So we're doing our best to make sure that that stays on track. But if you're interested in becoming involved in those focus groups and attending those meetings, it will go out on OPN. We're going to send it out broadly on Gov Delivery, but we also have a public review group as part of the LRTP process. And you can find the public review group on our website as well under what's next, aka like how can you be involved next. So leave your name and your email address there because that's how we're going to be communicating with folks that the draft is available for review and then upcoming stages as well on other drafts to do with policies, strategies, vision goals and objectives, and scenario planning. So drafts will be coming and then we'll be notifying as those things are available. So I had 2 questions for you all. Engagement style and cadence. Now that we really are ramping up into things as part of the LRTP and starting to hope for some feedback on some of the products, we want to engage. So we're finally ready for that. And what, like on behalf of the group, is there a certain style of engagement that you would prefer? It sounds like early and often, but any other specifics that I could notate down?
Any suggestions, Aaron? You're not like, go ahead, I'll let you.
No, go ahead, sorry.
I was gonna say, I feel like presentations like this at each one of those milestones would have value.
I think that would be really good. And then, yeah, just letting us know when there's opportunity for comments, so we can bring it to the committee as staff, whether that's a public comment or comments on the documents you provide as part of that working group, things like that. Because I believe I've been tasked with, I'll be attending those meetings for you all and then can provide that information from those meetings to let you know and see what you guys want to do about it.
What kind of timeline do you need things on, Aaron? I know we talked a little bit about this in the other comments.
That is challenging just because, you know, to get it, we really need to bring things to the TAC and PC. And so we needed a week before those meetings. You know, we can skip the TAC if needed. I just don't like doing that if it's preferred. So I think we'll just have to work with the state and do the best we can regarding that.
And I think that's important for Sarah to know. So you need, like, if she wants to present to the committees, she has to let you know a week before the TAC.
Yes. Yeah. So what I can do is work with Sarah and let her know all of the time, because we have all the schedules, all the meetings already scheduled out for the year. So what I can do is work with Sarah and just let her know what those dates and times are, and when we need everything by, so she can have that available.
That would be wonderful. Yeah, we're going to be working sort of fast and furious on the plan that we're hoping to finalize and adopt by the end of the calendar year. So lots of turnaround, lots of things to review, and lots of things to consider. I think every time I do any kind of engagement, it does take a while to just process all the comments that came in and understand what we need to include and how we need to address comments. So it all takes time.
We do have our subcommittees as well, BPAC, FAC, and CAC. So I'll have to work with staff and figure out how we want to handle that, because it's a lot to ask the state to come to every single one of those. So it may be that we just have to get a quick little briefing from them and then we can provide it to the committees without having to burden the state staff. So Sarah, I'll probably be reaching out with you and maybe we can have just a quick meeting to figure out what to do on this.
That'd be wonderful. I'm also on the list to attend the NPO quarterly meeting as well, so we can sort of talk further details with NPOs as a whole there as well. So, yeah,
thank you.
Thank you, Aaron.
Any questions from the committee for Sarah?
Sarah, thank you so much. This was really informative. I'm wondering first if you could provide a copy of this presentation to the members of the policy committee. Awesome. That would be super helpful.
Absolutely. I'll send it over right after.
Thank you. How long do you expect the initial draft document to be?
Well, I can tell you the transportation assessment right now, the draft I was looking at this afternoon is 200 pages. I'm really hoping it's less than that. And I just want to preface with, it does have maps and tables. So there's part of that there. It is an easy read, though. I have to say it's not overly technical, but provides good details and a foundation for it. It is really meant to be that foundation for existing conditions on our infrastructure, but then talking about where we're going, like where do we want to go in the scenario planning exercise as well. So we're really setting the stage for that as part of this assessment.
And then just as a sort of a conceptual question, what happens with the LRTP once it's approved? Like, how is that document functionally used once this process concludes?
Right, so it being a policy plan, it is supposed to direct our actions and our funding allocations. I don't know if I can go into specifics on like day-to-day activities, but funding projects and actions of the department should be tied back to the LRTP. Broadly stated.
As far as the current LRTP goes, Sarah, how often does that get amended or changed?
Yeah, there is a recommendation to update every 4 to 5 years. And so that's our goal.
Does it get amended at all during that 4 to 5 year period, or it's just?
Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood that. No, I haven't seen that we amend the document afterwards. And it doesn't, unlike the MTP, it does not have a project listing in it. We leave the project listing to particular programs and the STIP. This really just gives the department direction. So we have seen that different administrations will come in and want to update the LRTP, and that's up to them to do that. But the recommendation is every 4 to 5 years.
Fascinating. Yeah, I'm asking because I've been on this body since May of last year, and I've never heard the LRTP referenced as as a matter of course. So it's interesting to know that like this document is now in production. And I think that's interesting, that is intended to be the practice. Thank you again so much for being with us. It's really informative.
Yes, thank you. You all have a great day. We appreciate it.
Hang around for just a second. Any other questions from the committee? No? Any comments from the public? I'm not seeing any. Now you're off the hook. There, thanks. Okay. Obligation report?
Yes. Okay, everybody, we have the Q4 obligation report in front of you. So really quickly, so this is the 2025, kind of how did we do at the end of the year? As you saw from the email I provided to you, we had about $9.4 million that was not obligated for 2025. And we show the projects in there, but I'll go through them as the Rapid Creek Road reconstruction, Potter Drive rehabilitation, Mountaineer Drive, Northern Lights Boulevard sidewalk repair, Campbell Creek Trail grade separated crossing, and then the Anchorage area-wide pavement or pathway and trail pavement replacement. Did not have their programmed funding obligated. We had a little bit that was under obligated for the downtown trail connection. So basically we saved a little bit of money. And then there was a little overage on the motorized pavement replacement. So we needed a little bit more money. So overall, as I said, it's about 9.4 million that we didn't obligate. That does not mean we lost the money. It just means that it's available for us in a future year to utilize. But just as a heads up, as we've already said with the amendment number 4, 2026 looks like it could be also not obligating our full amount for that year. Really depends on what we do with the downtown transit center and how that's funded, because that could absorb a significant chunk of the money. So this is here before you. Again, this will be posted to our website, so anybody can see it after the meeting as well. And just wanted to give you kind of an overview for it, and I'm here for any questions you have. Thank you.
Questions from the committee? I just have a quick statement that, it's an important program for us to program and obligate, I should say, and we are falling short, it seems like year after year. We just talked this morning about maybe taking a look at the slips that we're having and kind of identifying the reasons. We've talked about them all before, but just to see if we can strategize how we can spend more money in Anchorage, at least spend our allocation. We need to figure that out. But we're working on it, and I think we're open to ideas too, so I think that's the end of my rambling comment, but are there any comments from the public on that? All right, not seeing any. On to the 50th anniversary of AMATS.
Do we have a moment for questions from the committee?
Oh, we did that already, I thought, but go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I missed that. I was sucked into the table. My apologies. Yeah, I think I'm curious about, let's see, it looks like Mountain Air and Potter Drive and Rabbit Creek are three where we've had some project slippage. And didn't get those funds obligated in fiscal year 25. Was that due to staffing challenges at DOT? Was that due to something else? I mean, what? I understand why some delays happen on other projects, but those three surprised me.
Yeah, and I'd say it's a combination of all the things that we've talked about before. The looks like the environmental document for Rabbit Creek is scheduled for August this year. And I believe that $1.25 million is for right-of-way phase. Is that accurate?
For which one? The
For Rabbit Creek?
Rabbit Creek. Yeah, it looks like it is. Well, the 26 funding will be for, yeah, so right away in 26.
Yeah, I guess, and likewise, those three looks like, that they're all, yeah. The environmental document scheduled for this summer on all three of them, and I believe all three of those are right-of-way basis. The specific cause of the delay there, I can't.
Okay. So it's unclear right now why these three projects were not obligated this year.
Sure.
Is there a way to find out? Because I mean, it seems like, if we're gonna prevent, this from sort of being like a recurring thing where we have funds that we don't necessarily leave on the table. I understand that we can reclaim them later, at least for a period of years, but seems important to understand what exactly is happening if we're going to stop it from happening in the future. So what do you suggest as the best mechanism to dig into the slippage and the reason behind it?
Yeah, I think I just said that, we're going to take a look at all the slippages in the tip. We're going to identify the specific causes. We've talked about the multiple causes, work in the urban environment. These aren't so much urban. But we're going to need an urban environment, not being able to maintain the scope. I don't know if that applies to these projects. Going to do a little bit of a deep dive and see if we can speed some of those up.
Is that something that we could, hear back from at this committee, what those conclusions look like?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, I think that would be helpful. Because, these three in particular, I don't recall there being, any, extensive scope changes or anything like that. And so, yeah, I know we've discussed that in other areas where, the scope of a project has changed, or we've had some challenges with, utilities and such, but, yeah, these were a surprise to me.
And it could be the case here, I hate to use resources as an excuse. It looks like all three of those are in-house designs. So, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Sure, that's one of our challenges, but so I don't like to use that as an excuse.
Sure.
I'm unfortunately gonna have to step out.
Good to see you, Grant.
Thanks, Dale.
Thanks for being here, Mr. Graham.
And the Anchorage area wide pathway and trails pavement replacement, I couldn't find that in our status report, and Luke didn't know what it was either.
Well, that's the pot of funding that's used to repave pathways and trails.
Sure.
And we've been having a really hard time getting design starts going because of the lack of staffing.
Okay.
So a lot of that 2 million was supposed to do some design starts, so we could actually have projects in the queue to help absorb construction dollars, construction ready to go to absorb in case other slips happened.
So my comment is that those could be easier projects to deliver. So
yeah,
that's something that we need to focus on. Maybe that's something that we need to talk to the city about and see how we can find some resources to get those things going.
Yeah, I mean, I want to be clear. I certainly appreciate that, under a hiring freeze, staffing is difficult, and also with a typhoon, that, certainly makes a difference. But yeah, would love to see what else might be happening under the hood so we can work a little better on getting these things moving.
Try to focus on the solutions rather than the problems, right?
Well, you have to know the problem before you can fix it. So yeah, thank you.
One Where am I? Any questions or any comments from the public on the obligation report? I think I already asked.
We did that, yeah.
And I did not see those. We're on to item 60, which is the 50th anniversary of AMATS.
Yes, hello, everybody. Just wanted to let you know real quickly, AMATS is turning 50 this year. We're pretty excited for that. 1976 is when we were designated, April 1976 is when we were designated as an MPO. So we're really, really happy to announce that we have our 50-year anniversary coming this year. And one of the things, go ahead and play it, Mook, if you want. Christine did is she created our 50th anniversary logo. So this is the old logo, one of the oldest ones we can find, maybe, potentially. And she decided to go ahead and do a little update of the logo, or the logo that we're using for our 50-year anniversary. So as you can see, did a little bit of refresh on it. The plan is to spend the next year or so doing little celebrations throughout the year for our 50-year. You know, everybody else gets their celebrations of turning older, so we're going to as well as AMATS. One of the things that we're going to go ahead and do is probably get some swag with this logo on there, have some shirts, some mugs, stickers, other things like that that we can hand out to people at public meetings, to the committee members, everything like that. Well, we do want to let you know that this logo is only for this anniversary. It is not a change to our overall logo, so don't worry, we're not doing that. But we wanted to run it by you all to see if you had any comments or concerns about the logo, or if you had any questions for us overall. You'll be hearing more from us as we go in the next year or so. So we're pretty excited for this. So that's all I had. Thank you.
Comments, questions from the committee? No. Comments from the public? Good logo. I like it.
Thank you.
60.
Yes, really quickly, just the next policy committee meeting. So for what month are we in? We are in January. So for February, let me pull it up really quickly because I was already into March to let you know all the great things we had for March, and I realized we are not there. Just a second. It should be a pretty short meeting at this point. Oh man, I don't actually have anything. I don't know what we have for the next PC meeting.
I may have misheard you. Did you say we don't have a February meeting?
No, this is for the February meeting.
Okay.
I was thinking
you skipped March.
March. I was like, March, we have X, Y, and Z for you to all worry about. But February, so February is actually going to be our safety month for safety targets. We both have the AMATS safety targets, and then we have the transit safety target. So pretty excited for that, to give you guys that information and talk to you about where we are recommending our safety targets for 2026. So that's all I had. Thank you.
Great. Any questions from the committee? No. Comments from the public? Not seeing any. And I believe that's the last agenda item.
Yes, it is, sir.
It is. The next is committee comments. I typically wait till the end, but I think I'll go first. I'm just going to introduce Mark Eisenman, who you should recognize as the Anchorage area planner. What's your new position, Mark?
I'm acting AMATS coordinator.
Acting. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Is that a short-term thing? Okay.
Bill James Thursday.
Oh, okay. All right. Good.
Okay, cool.
I missed that part of it.
Welcome.
Mark's a smart guy. He'll do a good job. We had a third public hearing tonight scheduled in Indian for the Safer Seward. That's been canceled due to weather. And then lastly, it may not seem like it, but I do appreciate everybody's input last month on the HSIP plan. We are revisiting that. There's some projects that we can add back in using advanced construction, which is just a funding mechanism that allows us to borrow from future programs. So we're going to have a few design starts from that are going to get going. I don't want to be specific because I don't think it's been signed or approved yet. Gamble is one of the bigger projects that we had in that HSIP plan that got moved. And our goal is to get something obligated this year, but the sequence is Chugach Electric has to go out there under permit using their underground surcharge that you see, like, I think it's 2% on your electrical bills, and that goes towards undergrounding utilities within the city. So they're going to go out on Gamble and bore this summer and put their power underground. The sequence goes that we'll follow in behind them with our other utility companies, underground those utilities. The lighting is on the utility poles now, So we have to get all those utilities in place before we pull the poles. We also have to get the new lighting installed so that we'll have lighting out there. And then we'll pull those poles and reconstruct the sidewalk. So probably not going to see a lot of, you'll see plenty of disruption this summer. We get CEA out there, but probably not going to see sidewalks and pulling those utility poles until next year. But I guess I'll say that that's the exact same plan that we had for 25. We didn't get there, so we need to work closely to enable CEA to get out there this year to make that happen. That's the last one I had. Does anybody else have any comments?
For me.
Let us know if there's anything we can do as a muni to grease those skids with
I
CEA.
appreciate that. I had the conversation with the mayor's office, and I think she's gonna contact CEA and at least let them know that it's an important project to her as well. So,
Excellent. Thank you.
Public comment. Not seeing, oh, please.
Public comment generally, or just what you said?
Yeah, open it up for public comments. Just state your name and where you're from and
Should I just
go
stay
ahead.
here?
What's that?
Should I just stay here?
You can, yep, just speak up, yep.
Okay, this is just my introduction. My name is Marnie Isaacs, and I'm here, this is a Westchester Lagoon safety issue that I wanted to bring up to you. And I wanted to thank Aaron and Graham and Anna for listening to my questions and saying, speak up, speak up. So I've been invited to speak up here. So the Turning Community Council, South Edition and North Star have all signed a petition, which we have submitted to you all for consideration to address safety issues in Westchester Lagoon area. In my view, it's getting to be fairly serious. I've got 15 user groups here. I just passed around some things. I don't want to go into a lot of detail here, but I've got the proposal, and then there's also an addendum, which is recognizing all you've talked about in terms of the budget. The community councils have restricted this request for consideration to a 10-minute walk from down at the lagoon, 10 minutes to the north of the city, to the west, and then to the east. And this is where you've got maybe 15 user groups that I've put it as a minimum, and it's growing. And as a frequent walker, we've seen near misses and accidents growing. So we're hoping to get involved somehow, somewhere. We chipped in AMATS because we thought maybe some of the funding would be more available there. I'm not so sure anymore, but Anna suggested we also talk about possibly, not immediately, of course, but getting in the queue for propositions. What Sarah had to say here, I just jumped for joy because that may be an opportunity for me to step next to this whole planning process. But basically, we were told, don't get into the weeds in terms of your engineering or your design, but we wanted to take the 9-inch or 9-foot trails in that area and expand them to about 12 feet and a class 6 multi-use trail. It's very tight in there, so we'll have to leave your architects to it. But this doesn't anticipate making any changes to the bridges. They're all 12 feet.
Oh, okay.
So we're trying to keep it reasonable in terms of a budget, but we need more space. So I'm just kind of laying that out here for you, and then I may talk with Sarah on how to get a proposal, and I may be too late, I don't know, to her planning process.
Yeah.
And I should emphasize,
We should follow up on that, like how we can nominate.
if someone could, I don't know how we could nominate in a timely way. And I'm not asking for this to jump a queue. I know
Sure.
you've got a lot of projects in front of us, but, and I wanted to make it clear, I don't know if the bike folks are still on, but this is not targeting e-bikes at all. I interviewed a lot of people this summer, and there's a lot of concern across the board. Thanks.
Well, thank you. Anybody else? Seeing anybody, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I think, I can just adjourn.
Yeah.
Quick.